All right, good Friday afternoon to you. I'm forecaster Nathan with a quick live update for you on our weather situation this afternoon. We continue to monitor the risk of severe weather, some wintry weather, and some very windy conditions out there. I'll give everybody just a couple of moments to hop in. I hope everybody's having a good Friday so far today. It's been a busy one for most of us here on Bell Park Weather Network. We are tracking a pretty nasty winter storm moving across the region, bringing a lot of rain, some thunderstorm chances, and also the threat of some wintry weather as well. So, give everybody just a few moments to hop in. I'm sure this is a long-awaited video for some of you. I know we've been kind of working on a couple of things this afternoon. I've also been busy with other non-work related things, if you will. We'll just kind of get everybody joined in here, and we'll get to start here in just a couple of moments. So let us know where you're watching from. We'll go over all the weather alerts as well. We'll talk about that risk of severe weather and even some wintry weather as well. We've got flood watches, flood warnings, flood advisories, high wind warnings, winter storm warnings, you name it. We have everything with the exception of any kind of severe thunderstorm or tornado alert at this point in time, and that might stay that way. I'll talk about that in just a little bit here as well. So, all right, so we can get things started. So this afternoon, first off, you're taking a look at the radar here, and we are seeing a lot of moderate to heavy rain across parts of central and southwestern Ohio. This has prompted some flood advisories, as we've seen 1 to 2 inches of rain, and even a few spots reporting a little bit more than that. That continues across the vast majority of the region this afternoon, but you are starting to notice off to the north some snow is starting to break out, especially across far northwestern Ohio, northern Indiana. We've talked about how this was going to be a very complex and low confidence snowfall forecast. The reason for that is we are just anticipating a really fine cutoff, a very sharp cutoff, and trying to determine where that's going to be has been a very tricky task. So you're seeing some of the snow and mixed precipitation to the far north. Let us know what you're seeing if you happen to be watching us from across, say, places like Bryan, Toledo, over to South Bend this afternoon. Just kind of let us know what you're seeing. Again, otherwise, just a lot of moderate to heavy rain, and this is going to be the trend here for probably really the next several hours. So we are tracking an area of severe thunderstorm warnings and a few tornado warnings. You may have seen this if you tuned in right at the beginning of the video here, but we are watching an arc of thunderstorms, or a line, if you will, back to our southwest across southwest Indiana and north central Kentucky, and a secondary line, as you can see here, across parts of south central Kentucky down to about the Tennessee border, and that extends well down into Tennessee. The big key so far here today across the Buckeye State, temperatures have been in the 30s and 40s. That is not very conducive for the risk of severe weather, which is good. And I'll go ahead and put those temperatures on for you so you can kind of see temperatures really just not going very well out there this afternoon across the board. We are sitting at 45 in Wilmington, 46 in Cincinnati. The 50s and 60s, they have been kind of confined to a lot of central and southern Kentucky. But I will point out one key here. Look back to the west. You see we've had some tornado warnings with temperatures in the 50s and even a few spots not too far from the 40s. So interesting setup today. This arc back here concerns me a little bit more for wind, just because the center of low pressure is right back in here, and there's just enough energy to work with, and combined with the fact that this low pressure center is actually becoming historic in the fact that some of the recorded pressures back here across southwest Indiana, southern Illinois are breaking records, and that is really impressive. That just shows the overall strength of this system. So this arc of thunderstorms here across southern Illinois, north central Kentucky will continue to race northeastward. The question becomes, this air mass here, as you can see, we're in the low 40s. I don't expect that to be very conducive for severe weather. Gusty to even some low-end damaging winds, absolutely. Would not be surprised to see that, even with these cooler temperatures today. But you see we had numerous tornado warnings earlier, and now we're transitioning to severe thunderstorm warnings and even just a couple special weather statements. That tells me that that line is starting to weaken just a little bit. This other line here across central down into southern Kentucky, this one also not really showing much in the way of intensity. And the reason for that is we've had so much rain this morning and into the early afternoon hours, really playing a havoc in terms of getting any kind of instability going today. And that would be one good news to kind of keep our severe threat reduced. Again, we mentioned that that severe threat would be conditional, right, upon other things happening. And right now we're just not seeing that. We're not seeing much in the way of temperature warmth, even across the mid-Ohio Valley. Temperatures 52 in Athens and 46 right now in Parkersburg. So not very warm out there this afternoon at all, and that will help to keep instability reduced, which is a good thing. The other interesting aspect of this is the fact we have so many weather alerts. I'm going to bring those up here now so you guys can kind of take a look at all of these. So first off, I do want to share with you that we do have a winter storm warning still in effect for our far northern counties. So we're talking LaGrange, Steuben, Noble, and DeKalb in Indiana, and Williams and Fulton in Ohio. And then we have a winter weather advisory for Allen County, Indiana, Whitley County, Indiana, and also over to Defiance and Henry and Lucas counties in northwest Ohio. This is where that rain snow line is going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I was actually going to check our Toledo Skycam before we came on. I didn't get a chance to, but based on some of the temperatures up there, would not be surprised if we are starting to see just a little bit of mixed precipitation or even some light snow falling. Again, let us know what you're seeing. That dynamic cooling is going to really start to take effect and should allow for more of that precipitation to fall in the form of snow, hopefully. Real quick, let's see if I can pull up our wind alerts. I'm sorry, this is our flood alerts first. So I'm going to step to the side here just for a moment so you can kind of see that we do have numerous flood watches across much of the region. And we also have some flood advisories for the Dayton and Cincinnati metros. Those were actually just extended until after 4 o'clock this afternoon. Moderate to heavy rain continues, and that's going to really play a problem for our rivers, creeks, and streams. Several other river flood warnings have already been issued well in advance just because of the anticipated liquid and the anticipated moisture that we are expecting. So that's just another hazard that we have to contend with this afternoon. The other one that we have to deal with is the risk of we are going to be seeing some issues with wind. And let's see if I can get, that's winter. There's our wind map, and I'll step to the side again so you can see this. We are looking at high wind warnings now in effect for far eastern Indiana and also far southern Ohio. And these high wind warnings are where we could see damaging wind gusts in excess of 58 miles per hour. Now, could the Weather Service in Wilmington kind of bridge the gap between those two high wind warnings? Absolutely. We could see these expanded as we kind of watch how things are evolving across southern Indiana and northern Kentucky this afternoon. Once that initial line of arc, as I was kind of talking about, once that arc of storms passes, the winds are going to really start to whip up, and that may cause some problems for damaging winds, trees to be blown down, power outages. And then also the other key takeaway is those of you across parts of Coshocton, Tuscarawas, Carroll, and Columbiana counties are not under any wind advisories. I don't have a specific answer as to why that is. I can tell you that that is right in between two Weather Service forecast offices. You have Stark County that is controlled by the Cleveland office. Then you have Tuscarawas is controlled by Pittsburgh, and so is Guernsey County. So a little bit of an odd gap there. They may fill that in a little bit later, but I don't have an answer right now as to why that is not. Again, that's the only thing that I can really think of. Weather Service just not anticipating wind advisory criteria, which is any gust over 45 miles per hour or greater, or sustained winds over 31 miles per hour. So something else to kind of take of note here. This is our second high wind warning in about the last month or so for anybody in our coverage area, and that is really impressive and just speaks to the strength of the systems that we've been having. And obviously you can tell because it's been more rainy and less snowy, we've been on the warmer side of these systems, and so we're seeing more wind and we are seeing more of these wind alerts issued. So just something to want to kind of point out and take away there. Again, right now, no active tornado or severe thunderstorm warnings. They would be scrolling across the bottom of your screen here once we get any of those, and if we have to come back live later on this afternoon or evening. So that's a look at the wind side of things. I'll take you back to the radar now just to kind of give you a little bit of a reset there, and we'll zoom this out a little bit for you so you can kind of see the entire region as a whole here. But I just wanted to kind of point out this afternoon, temperatures, as you can see, it's 36 in Toledo and 61 right now in Huntington, West Virginia. So again, the key for severe weather today is we have to get some of these warmer temperatures to start creeping up. We're not seeing a lot of that. Again, you can see some 50s and 60s to the south of the Ohio River trying to make their way northward, but this massive rain here may prevent that from happening. And if that does, then we will see a lower severe risk. My other concern, though, is that we are just seeing so much rain out there today. We'll take you down here into the Dayton metro area real quick just so you can see just a lot of yellows and oranges on the radar this afternoon. That is telling us that we are seeing just a very efficient and very high rainfall rates. In fact, we'll switch it over here to the Weather Service in Wilmington's radar. So give me just 1 second and I'll plop that on here for us so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. That is the Weather Service out of Louisville. I'll turn the temperatures off here as well. Just wanted to kind of show you the local aspect of these rainfall rates here this afternoon. Again, they are really impressive. I've seen some rainfall rates in excess of 1/2 of an inch per hour at times. You can see all these yellows. This is a very prolonged period of moderate to heavy rains. That's why we have the flood advisories for the Dayton and the Cincinnati metro areas. And as you can see up towards Columbus, some steady rain, nothing overly heavy, but all of this will be working northeast towards the Columbus metro just in time for the afternoon and evening rush hour. Let's go back up to the northwest real quick because I do want to kind of see what the local radar is suggesting for precip type, and this will be interesting to kind of see. Let me switch over to precip typing. There we go. So the radar is going to have a really, really tough time. This is where your ground reports are so important this afternoon across our far northwestern counties. Other thing to note here, this really bright banding that you see just to the west of Fort Wayne, it's actually where the radar is depicting well above the surface that there's actually some snowflakes falling, but not quite making it to the surface, and so it's just kind of picking up on some of that in the atmosphere. But where the snow is likely falling, and we're starting to see some of the temperatures potentially validating this, is right along the Indiana Turnpike to the northwestern portions of Ohio, along the Ohio Turnpike. I should say Indiana Toll Road and the Ohio Turnpike. Got those two mixed up there, but that's kind of where we're seeing the potential for some snow, maybe some sleet mixing in from time to time as well. We can go over to correlation coefficient and see what that is depicting as well. Now, this would suggest that everything up here to the north of Fort Wayne is all snow, and everything to the south would be potentially rain. This area right in between here would be our mixed zone. And so we'll have to wait and see. Again, your reports are really important. I'm not seeing a lot of you, at least on Ohio News and Weather, showing that there is any snow. But David is saying that you do have a little bit of a mix, but mostly moderate rain in Toledo. Thanks for the update. I appreciate that. Let's take a look here. Not seeing any other reports of any mixed precipitation across far northwestern Ohio. Perhaps we're just not seeing anything, and perhaps we're just not getting a lot of people watching from there either. But just something I wanted to kind of point out to us again. We can sometimes use what's called correlation coefficient to show us different precipitation types. But again, the radar probably going to have a tough time this afternoon telling us where it is exactly snow versus where is it exactly rain and anything in between. So the winds are going to start to really pick up as well. Let's show you some of those wind gusts real quick. I'll turn off the NextRad radar and we'll turn on back to the regional radar, and we'll go over to the wind gusts. So winds gusting right now at 45 miles per hour in Fort Wayne. But check this out, and this is why we have the high wind warnings in effect across eastern Illinois. We're seeing some gusts in the 60 mile per hour plus range. Otherwise, gusting to 43 right now in Lima, 25 here in Columbus, and 31 miles per hour right now in Mansfield. Those winds will only continue to increase as we get into the evening and overnight hours tonight. And just to show you just how strong some of these other gusts are, seeing some gusts in the 50s here across parts of central Tennessee, 62 there, not too far from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So very gusty winds are likely going to continue with us through the overnight hours tonight. So if you have any loose outdoor items, it was trash day for me, so I'm going to try to get out there and get my trash can brought up and maybe even put in the garage, just in the event that we do see some really high winds here across central Ohio this evening. But again, a lot of us are under that wind advisory for tonight. So that's where things stand right now. I'll look and see if we have any additional questions. I'll put the map back into motion for you. Again, I'm really curious to hear from more of you across northwestern Ohio. See what you guys are seeing there. If you're watching us from the Middle Ohio Valley this afternoon, just some light showers are kind of working through. Nothing's been overly significant for you so far. I'll show you the SPC outlook here too in just a second. Yes, there have been some tornado warnings in Indiana. One confirmed tornado at least near Evansville and another one near Paducah, Kentucky. Otherwise, the tornado really aspect of things today has not really materialized as to where it could have. And I think a lot of that has to do with all of this rain that we have been seeing working across the Ohio Valley and now moving into the Buckeye State here as well. So that's one piece of good news, hopefully. We'll have to kind of see how things progress as we continue to move forward here. But that's where things are standing right now. Matt is saying you have a wintry mix in Toledo. Thanks for letting us know. Give me just a second. I'm going to pull up our Toledo Skycam, and we can actually show you what we are seeing here. So again, just bear with me for a second. I got to get logged in to look at it here real quick, and we'll see if we can pick up on the wintry mix. And I would tell you that Toledo camera is Not very nice looking. It's going to be very tough to get a great view of it, but we will take a look at it so we can kind of show you. I don't think we've actually used one of these before on our live feed, so let me bring this back up here. And I think that's going to be it right there. There we go. And I'll bring this into view so you can kind of see. So this is a look at our Toledo Skycam, and I think, okay, I keyed myself in, good. So very poor visibility this afternoon here as we look from downtown Toledo from our Amplex Internet Skycam. This is the Fifth Third building back here right behind me. It's actually right there. Very hard to see though. You can see the raindrops on the lens. We can look at a couple of our other cameras here as well. We can go over to our newly integrated Finley Skycam. Again, we have just a few of these right now, but you're seeing the wet roads out here this afternoon as well, and some reduced visibilities, gusty winds as well. In fact, we want to show some wind. We could probably go to the North Bass camera. This is up at the North Bass Island. You can see the camera moving pretty well, and that tells us we do have some windy conditions out there, and that will continue to be the trend through the afternoon. So I just wanted to show that there for just a brief minute. Really tough to kind of get much of an indication from our Toledo Skycam as we go back to it in terms of what type of precipitation is falling, but I would venture to say that based on this, we could be seeing some snow. I might try to move the camera around a little bit later to see if we can get a little bit of a better view and perhaps share that with you, but you can see the very poor visibility out there this afternoon, and that will continue to be a problem, even in areas that are just seeing plain rain, along with that threat for ponding of water on the roadways. So we'll be watching everything out there for you through the rest of the afternoon hours. We'll come back live as needed, but again, for right now, we're not anticipating any severe weather in the short term, and potentially, maybe not even at all today, which would be a good thing as well. So for right now, folks, I'm going to wrap things up. I'm forecaster Nick Dunn reporting. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Stay safe, turn around, and don't drown if you encounter floodwaters. And remember, if you happen to hear thunder today, be sure you go indoors. Thanks for watching.